Everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a deck profile here for World Chalice. So at long last, the ban list came out and I was finally able to take a look at the list and reaffirm all my, decisions and different things that I wanted to do with all my decks. So with that being said, I can now build my decks freely and put out some deck profiles once more again. So I'm sure you guys have kind of missed this because it's been over 2 weeks since I last did a deck profile, right? So very long time, and it was only because I wasn't sure of whether or not it was worth making a deck profile only for certain cards to potentially get hit on the ban list. But seeing as very few cards were actually put onto the ban list, I felt that this was actually okay, and I am now ready to actually pump out a bunch of deck profiles, so do stay tuned for that. Of course, I will be showing test hands as well, so don't forget about that. That will be very exciting, of course, especially for the fact that today we're going to be doing World Chalice. Now, of course, you guys have already seen 2 videos on this where I actually talked about the World Chalice building session and also the play testing session as well. So in this case, we've now built the full deck profile. So today I'm going to be going over the entire deck, explaining to you my different choices, and then finally for tomorrow and maybe even the following days, I might do a few test hands to actually demonstrate what the deck can actually do at its very full potential. But with that being said, let's just get started. To begin with monsters, without a doubt we're going to be playing 1 copy each of the normal monsters, so that would be Beckoned, Chosen and Crowned. There's really no explanation for this. The only reason is that you really just want them as great starters for the deck, and with Crowned you could play the Draconets, which makes it more active. In previous situations I might play more ratios of Chosen or Beckoned, but in this scenario I can play Crowned without any worry because she is actually quite viable. Chosen is also great for the fact that it's a psychic, so you could just summon it out using E-Tally. And finally with Beckon is an interesting choice. It used to be a very searchable card using reinforcement of the army, but in this situation you don't even need it anymore because Beckon can easily just be searched out, and with this you have enough targets, I guess, to bring out all of these via, World Chalices effect. And of course, being normal monsters, they're also very active in the graveyard for Guard Dragon's effect as well. Next, we're playing here 3 copies of World Chalice. This should be no surprise to you guys. It's pretty much a staple at 3, and that goes without saying that we're also playing 3 copies here of Lee the World Chalice, and we're also going to be playing 2 copies here of Guard Dragon. I felt that these ratios worked best. I didn't want to drop it any lower. These 2, it makes sense, of course. With the Guard Dragon, I was scared that if my opponent had DD Crow, then that would be a big problem, so I bumped it up to 2 copies. I believe it's always been at 2 anyway, but during playtesting I was actually considering putting it back to 1. Not a good choice, best to just keep it at 2. I think it works best at that particular ratio. Next, of course, also a staple, 3 copies of Venus and 3 copies of Shine Ball. Some people have actually argued the fact that maybe you could play less copies of Venus. I think that's not really a great choice. Venus is very hard to bring out and you want it to be as consistent as possible, so we're maxing out the number of copies we can get of her, so that's why I'm playing 3 copies of her. And also we are even playing the Transmodify in hopes to actually bring out Venus. And keep in mind, with the fact that maybe the opponent might have DD Crow, which I've actually been seeing a lot more these days, Venus at 3 copies is definitely going to be very good. Now, of course, to shuffle your cards back into the deck, allowing you to recycle things, we gotta play here 2 copies of Exodius, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord. Absolutely amazing card. Playing 2 copies of it, you could potentially drop it down to 1 copy. You could also bump it up to 3 copies. But Exodius here, I think 2 is just a very fine number. Definitely works really well for me. I'm also playing here 2 copies of Draconet. This was a very interesting card. I was going on and off about playing either 2 copies or 3 copies. However, I think 2 copies definitely works well. It has plenty of targets. You have 4 different targets in the deck. You have the 3 Shine Balls and you also have Crowned by the World Chalice. So Draconet still is quite a viable option to actually draw into. And yeah, it's just really great. I just didn't feel that there was any need to actually go to 3 copies of it. For a few one-offs, we're playing over here Rescue Ferret, still a card that I personally have some sort of attachment to, so because of that I wanted to actually incorporate it into the deck. I know a lot of people have actually removed it from their deck, but I still believe it works quite fine. We're also playing over here the Codebreaker 0 Day. Yes, we are playing the Codebreaker engine. I believe it's going to work really well in this particular build, so definitely just stay tuned for the test stand video, and that way I could actually demonstrate, or hope to demonstrate, this particular card and what it could potentially do. But with that being said, let's move on here. We're playing one copy of Christia. Without a doubt, really amazing card. Definitely just stops your opponent, and really easy to actually bring out as well if you actually maximize Auram's effect, which I neglected to even consider in the past. And finally, we're playing over here the one copy of Gameciel. You only really need one of them because of the fact that firstly, you get it to the grave, it's easy to summon back using Auram's effect, but at the same time you also have plenty of cards to actually search it out. But that's pretty much it with the monsters, so let's move on to the spells. Alright, so onto the spells. Since we were last talking about Gameciel, I thought that it was appropriate to talk about the 3 copies of Waterfronts. We definitely have to play 3 of these because you want to maximize consistency for it. You could technically take 1 copy out and put in a terraforming, but even then, it doesn't really matter because of the fact that with terraforming, if your opponent ashes you, then you can't really get it out anyway. So I'm just playing 3 copies of it. Even if I draw into extra copies of it anyway, I'll just discard it via different effects, so it doesn't really matter in that case. And not to mention, in my side deck I'm also playing Twin Twisters, so no biggie there. But with the Kyoto Waterfront, playing 3 copies definitely works in actually getting our 1 copy of Gameciel in the deck. So because of that, I really just don't see any reason not to play 3 copies of it, because of the fact that you just want to get it on the board. You want to have those technically infinite negates on the board, right? So Kyoto Waterfront, you want to see it majority of the time. Of course, we are still playing the 1 copy of World Legacy's Heart, pretty self-explanatory since it's been explained in previous deck profiles. We're also playing here the Legacy Succession, only 1 copy for the fact that it's a hard once per turn, but it's still a free Monster Reborn. Speaking of which, we are playing Monster Reborn. We're also playing over here 1 copy of Swing of Memories. It's technically, again, another form of Monster Reborn, only for normal monsters, making our normal monsters in the deck actually a lot more viable in this case. And we're also playing over here 1 copy of the World Legacy Guard Dragon. I felt that 1 was really all I needed. It is a hard once per turn after all, but you know, being able to bring back the World Legacy or World Chalice Guard Dragon is definitely very nice, and technically it is our only target anyway, so only 1 copy is needed. But I do like the secondary effect for allowing you to actually move cards from different zones. We're also going to be playing here the 1 copy of Unexpected Die, just to bring out your main normal monsters, and that would definitely be quite fantastic. And every single normal monster in your deck is actually a viable target for the Unexpected Die, but it's really a card you could just play 1 of and get away with. Oh, I actually made a mistake here. We're playing 2 copies of Swing of Memories. It's not a hard once per turn, so why not? There's no harm in actually bringing out 2 of them. Moving on, we're playing the 1 copy of the Emergency Teleport. It's just the main card to bring out our Chosen by the World Chalice, so makes sense, right? It's pretty self-explanatory there. Of course, we can't forget about the fact that we're playing 2 copies here of Transmodify just to try and get out Venus, so definitely very fantastic. You could either send your Mystical Shine Balls, or you could send off your Lee, the World Chalice Fairy, and you could definitely just get things going. Last of the spells, we're playing the 1 copy here of Pot of Avarice. Absolutely amazing card, allows you to recycle. Some people have actually teched in 2 or 3 copies even. Personally, I don't see any reason to do that. 1 copy has always just worked well for me, and I guess you guys might see it in the test hand video next time. Finally, for the traps, we're playing the 1 copy of World Legacy Sorrow, just a new tech that I'm adding in. It's technically just a free negate. Your whole deck is going to be co-linking, so why not just play 1 of them? Alright, so moving on to the extra deck now, let's talk about a lot of interesting cards here. Firstly, we're going to play some staples like Ningirsu. We're also going to be playing Auram, absolutely amazing card of course. We're playing our Ib, and of course we're still playing the 2 copies of Imduk. Preferably I would like to play 3, but for the fact that I could easily just shuffle back my Imduks into the deck anyway, there's no big deal. And with the so-called playtesting, I did actually realize the fact that Imduk was definitely quite an important card, so yeah, to keep it at 2 was just very nice. Yeah, some people say that you might want to play 3 of them, but I've never actually had a need to go into a 3rd copy of it during any of my combos, because of the fact that I could just easily reshuffle these back into the deck anyway to go for them again. Next, of course, we're playing the 1 copy of Link Spider. Just to get things started, we're playing a bit of a toolbox here with the Cerberus and Phoenix. And speaking of which, I kind of wanted to talk about a new addition here. We're playing the Nightmare Unicorn as well. Just a really great card, has its own effect, of course, its own gimmick as a toolbox card, just like the other Nightmares, but it also points down, which adds to a bit of extra utility, and it's quite useful in terms of its link arrows. So I decided playing this would actually be quite nice, and I'm quite welcoming of it. Of course, as I said, we're also playing here 2 copies of the, well, 1 of each of the Codebreakers, so that makes sense. We're playing the entire Codebreaker engine, so you guys already saw that coming. And then of course we're playing here the Trigate Wizard, because with the amount of co-linking you can actually just go for the Trigate Wizard, technically get a free negate, which is quite nice, and also free banish on your opponent's field as well. To end things off with a bit of boss monsters, we're playing here the Yugioh, we're playing here the Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax, and we're playing here the Unchained Abomination. Just really great boss monsters that we go into, and you could technically bring out all 3 of them in 1 turn, which is definitely quite fantastic. If you guys want to play different copies of Link 4s, for example, you guys want to play Borrowsword, Borrowload, maybe Appaloosa, it's up to you. You know, it's whatever you feel is best. And for me, I personally really love these particular 4 cards, well 3 cards particularly, these Link 4s, and they have always worked out for me. So with that being said, that was pretty much it for this particular deck profile. So I hope you guys are now actually looking forward to the test stand videos, because I think I will be making quite a lot. You know, I won't be making just 1 of them, for the fact that I realize it could take an entire video just to make 1 test stand video, which is definitely quite crazy. So yeah, I want to actually like maximize the potential of this deck. So in the future test stand videos that will be coming out for this particular deck, I will be going into a lot of detail on just 1 test stand alone. So for all we know, it could be a long video even though it's just 1 test stand. Of course, it's different because when I'm actually in the game itself, I'm not explaining myself to you on my different options. So the deck itself isn't as long if you're actually well practiced with it. But that's pretty much it for today, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, definitely drop a like, share this video, and subscribe for more. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next time.